Medina had become a city under siege. The Quraysh, still burning from their failure at Uhud, had gathered an even larger force, determined to crush Muhammad and his followers once and for all. This time, they would not come alone. They had forged an alliance with various Arabian tribes, amassing an army of 10,000 warriors, the largest force ever seen in Arabia. Against them, Medina had only 3,000 defenders, a number far too small to withstand a full-scale assault. The city faced annihilation. But Muhammad was not a man to wait for destruction. He understood that if they faced the Quraysh in open battle, they would be overwhelmed. He needed something different, not just strength, but strategy. A Persian companion named Salman the Persian, a man who had seen great wars in distant lands, suggested a revolutionary idea: digging a trench around the city's exposed areas. In Arabia, no one had ever seen such a tactic before. Wars were fought with swords and cavalry, not through fortifications. But Muhammad recognized its brilliance. The trench would neutralize the Quraysh's advantage in numbers and cavalry, forcing them into a siege rather than an open battle. The work began immediately. The Muslims, alongside Muhammad himself, toiled under the burning sun, digging deep trenches in the rocky soil of Medina. It was grueling, back-breaking labor, but their survival depended on it. As they worked, they sang chants of faith, their unity growing stronger. Muhammad, though the leader, was no different from them. He dug, he lifted, he worked alongside his people. This was not just a battle for land. It was a battle for survival. Some of the companions grew discouraged, but Muhammad inspired them, reminding them that hardship was temporary, but faith and perseverance would carry them through. When the Quraysh arrived, expecting an easy conquest, they were stunned. Before them lay a deep trench, impossible to cross on horseback. The once invincible Quraysh cavalry was rendered useless. For days, they circled the city, searching for a way in, but found none. The siege had begun. The Muslims, vastly outnumbered, held their ground, rationing food and supplies while keeping a close watch on enemy movements. The Quraysh tried everything. They hurled insults, sent messengers to persuade the Muslim allies to betray Muhammad, and even launched small-scale attacks on different parts of the trench. But every time they advanced, they were met with a barrage of arrows and stones, forcing them back. The trench had turned Medina into a fortress. Inside the city, however, there was a crisis. The Banu Qurayza, a Jewish tribe that had a peace agreement with the Muslims, was now secretly negotiating with the Quraysh. If they betrayed Muhammad, they could attack from within and open the city to invasion. The tension was unbearable. If the Quraysh found a way across the trench, or if the Banu Qurayza turned against them, Medina would fall. Muhammad sent spies to gather intelligence, hoping to confirm the suspicions before making a move. Meanwhile, the defenders of Medina could do nothing but wait and prepare for the worst. The paranoia within Medina was rising, and the people feared that their own neighbors might turn against them. For weeks, the siege dragged on. Supplies ran low, exhaustion set in. Hunger began to take hold, and the defenders began feeling the strain of their limited rations. The Quraysh, despite their numbers, were frustrated. They had expected a swift victory, but the trench had denied them that. Their massive army needed food, water, and constant supplies, and Medina's defenses showed no sign of breaking. Every day, they tried to provoke the defenders into open battle, but Muhammad ordered restraint. He knew that if they engaged directly, Medina would be lost. The psychological pressure was immense, but his leadership held them together. Then, nature turned against them. A fierce storm swept through the Quraysh camp. Tents collapsed, fires were extinguished, sand filled their eyes, and morale crumbled. The desert, once their ally, had become their enemy. The wind howled through the camp, making sleep impossible, carrying away their supplies and quenching their fires. The exhaustion that had plagued the Muslims now fell upon the Quraysh. Their once confident warriors were now demoralized, their determination broken by the harsh elements. Muhammad seized this moment. He sent a trusted companion, Nuaym ibn Masudi, to spread confusion among the Quraysh and their allies, planting false rumors of betrayal. Soon, mistrust spread through the enemy ranks. Their alliance, once solid, began to fracture. The allied tribes, once confident in victory, began doubting the Quraysh leadership. One by one, groups started abandoning the siege, realizing that a prolonged stay in Medina would only lead to suffering and loss. The once unbreakable coalition was now on the verge of collapse. Under the weight of exhaustion, hunger, and paranoia, the Quraysh finally abandoned the siege. They had come to destroy Medina, but had been defeated without a single major battle. Their power was broken. The Muslims, though still a small force, had proven that faith, strategy, and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. The Battle of the Trench was not a victory of swords, but of intelligence and endurance. The Quraysh had thrown everything at Medina, and they had failed. For the first time, they realized that Muhammad was no longer just a leader of a small movement. He was a force they could not ignore. The Quraysh's defeat marked the beginning of their decline. Their once mighty alliances were now fragile, and their control over Arabia was slipping. Meanwhile, Medina grew stronger, and the faith of Muhammad's followers deepened. This victory was not just about survival. It was a turning point in the balance of power in Arabia. But the conflict was far from over. As the Quraysh retreated, the betrayal of Banu Qurayza had to be addressed. Loyalty and treachery would now be decided, and Medina would never be the same again. Muhammad knew that this unresolved matter could not be ignored. Justice had to be served, and security had to be restored within the city. The decisions made in the aftermath of the siege would shape the future of his rule and the destiny of Medina. The victory at the trench was more than just survival. It was the foundation for a rising power in Arabia. The Muslims had proven their resilience, and now the enemies of Islam had to reconsider their positions. They had thrown everything at Medina, yet the city still stood, stronger than ever. In the next episode, we witness the aftermath of the siege, where Muhammad must confront the consequences of betrayal and solidify his rule in Medina, shaping the future of his leadership and the destiny of the Arabian Peninsula.